The content of the Tandem radio program and website is intended for general information purposes only. It's not designed to provide listeners with specific and personal financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or other advice. The views expressed by show hosts, their guests, and callers are their own and should not be construed in any way as opinions of Tandem Radio or the Bridge FM network.
Here we go! You will eat the fruit of your labor. Blessings and prosperity will be yours. Psalms 128:2. Good morning and be encouraged. We're excited to be here with you at Tandem Radio here every Saturday morning. I'm your host, Glen, and we're here to tell you or talk to you about the good news on business. If you're tuning in for the first time, I have an extensive business background, been involved in business all my life. My family says I started when I was 7 years old, selling my toys to the neighborhood kids. And ever since then, I've had a very unique career in the sense of buying and selling and owning and building businesses around the tri-state area and some even across the country, so it's been a lot of fun. But I'm here today mostly to do two things, actually, is our goal. Number one is to point you in God's direction, to help you understand that the Bible is filled with wisdom on business, and God wants to be involved in all parts of your life, not just on Sunday mornings, but what you do Monday morning through Sunday is important as well. And so we help you by bringing you scriptures and points that direct you right into His line to help you realize that He can help you in your business as well as everything else. And also, we bring different guests in each week to help you realize that no matter how diversified a business is, there's often little tidbits or what we call nuggets that you can take away and use in your business life. And so our goal with our guests is to make sure that Monday morning when you go to the office, you have something to take there with you that can bring you a little bit more success and bring you farther along the path. So with that in mind, we're going to dig in today. Our theme for the show today is affording healthcare, and we have someone today who is with us, JoAnn Corso, who's the founder and CEO of United Miracles Network, and we're going to talk more to JoAnn in a minute and fill you in on what she does. But before we go there, as we do each week, God put scriptures on my heart that tie into the show. And sometimes they're very obvious. You know, you read the scripture and it says, wow, that's what we're talking about today. You're right on the money there. And sometimes I wonder, like, what does this have to do with what we're talking about? But God always ties it all together, and it comes together in one nice, neat package because that's what He does. So our goal, of course, in all that we do is to glorify Him and to stay focused on His Word. And again, the Bible's been a huge resource for me, for all my business endeavors, and I hope it will be for you as well. So let's start off with those scriptures, and then we'll get to our guests. Matthew 9:35 and 36. Jesus went through all the towns and villages, teaching in their synagogues, proclaiming the good news of the kingdom and healing every disease and sickness. When He saw the crowds, He had compassion on them. Philippians 2:4. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interest, but each of you to the interests of others. And then lastly, 3 John 1:2. Dear friend, I pray that you may enjoy good health and that all may go well with you, even as your soul is getting along well. So as I said, we have someone here in the studio today who is involved in healthcare to a certain degree, in that she helps people in that arena, people who often have a shortfall in their health needs and the cost of those needs. And today we have with us JoAnn Corso, the founder of United Miracles Network. Good morning, JoAnn, and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me, Glen.
And it's great to have you in the studio. Thanks for coming out. We want to get into what we're here to talk about today, and the concept is affording healthcare, of course. And of course, the show is do the good news on business, but we always have a theme based on our guests. Mm-hmm. So this was prompted by you and your website. So affording healthcare. But let's start off, JoAnn, with telling our audience a little bit about you. Can you give us just a little background?
About me? Absolutely. I grew up in Paramus, New Jersey. My father was a pharmacist. We had a pharmacy for about 20 years.
Wow.
And I literally worked in it since I was 11 years old. For several years, I took care of everything. And then my father passed away of cancer when I was 15.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you. And what happened was my mother, his sister, and myself and my sister took care of the pharmacy. We took care of everybody's health needs. We also took care of the marketing, the prescriptions, all the medical insurance, the buying, everything.
So you were literally thrown into your own business.
Yes, literally thrown into my own business. Okay. But I really did love helping people, and I learned a lot about the healthcare.
Right. Now, you're not actually a pharmacist, but you really dug into all different aspects of the business.
I absolutely did. And everybody said, go to school to be a pharmacist. I said, no, I want to help people with their nutrition. And that's what I did. I took care of everything.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So you had that experience. Obviously, growing up in a business, you learn a lot about business in general because usually the family brings it home with them, right?
Yes.
So now you were thrust into this business. You're actually running it because of what happened with your dad. And you were working with others. Tell us a little bit more about the ins and outs of what you did on a daily basis at the pharmacy.
Mm-hmm. The ins and outs were basically I took care of the medical insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So I dealt with the doctors. We tried to get everybody's medical insurance paid for the prescriptions.
Mm-hmm.
And people were on so much medication, it was unbelievable.
Right.
And there was a lot of people that had no insurance.
Hmm.
My father didn't have the best insurance, so when he was sick with leukemia, I saw that firsthand.
Mm.
So that was the basis of me starting my own nonprofit to help people, chronically ill patients, pay for their medical insurance, because I saw what had happened to my dad.
So you watched these struggles in people, and you saw that there was obviously a big gap there.
Yes, absolutely.
So, while you were going through this, obviously you had this double challenge here because you had the illness with your dad, and
Mm-hmm.
obviously you had this to jump into keeping the business going and all that. What opportunities did you have working directly with the people? Were you the direct mediator, kind of, between the healthcare system and the person?
I was.
Mm.
I was, basically. I spoke to those insurance companies all the time.
Really? Was that an uphill battle?
It was, because they were not willing to pay for everything and for every medication.
Right.
For different medications, there was different percentages, and a lot of people don't realize that.
Right. Wow.
And the people who didn't have insurance, the medications were $200 a pill sometimes, even
Wow.
$1,000 a pill.
Wow. Well, that's a hot topic, especially today with what's going on with healthcare in this country. And we won't get into that topic today because that's a whole other discussion. But it's certainly on people's minds, and I know weighs heavy on people's minds quite often, especially wondering, what if I do get some type of catastrophic illness or something? How do I handle that? So I'm glad to see that you have this charity involved in dealing with those issues, United Miracles Network. So how did you come across? Obviously, you had this foundation, right? You also, before we get there, you also went through an illness yourself.
Yes, I did. I was exposed to mold in an old house of mine. We renovated the bathroom.
Right.
I had a severe allergy to it. Nobody else was sick in the house. And the doctors gave me 12 doses of antibiotics in less than a year, 3 doses of prednisone, and intravenous. I had 80% oxygen. And also, one morning, I was just telling you the story that I was literally shaking and I couldn't open my eyes. And I said, if I don't open my eyes now, it's not going to happen. So I literally jumped out of bed, called 911, took my blood sugar, and it was comatose 27. They were shocked that I was actually able to do what I did.
Wow. So, you not only have this firsthand experience, but working with these health situation with the health companies and dealing with other people's issues, then you're dealing with your father's issues, then all of a sudden it's thrust on you. And it's interesting, because you mentioned mold, and a lot of people think of allergies as sneezes and runny noses and all that stuff, but you had a pretty dramatic reaction, right?
Yes, absolutely. It was not only breathing, but it was the entire digestive system. I went down to 90 pounds.
Wow.
And the sugar. I couldn't hold my sugar up, so I was severely hypoglycemic at the time.
And you were hospitalized for a while.
I was hospitalized for a little bit, not too long, but it was enough, and my mother had to move in and take care of my little kids for me.
Wow.
This was about 12 years ago.
Amazing. Now, through that, though, you did some research, I guess. You were digging around. You're saying, hey, the health industry is not really helping me here. You have to find some other solutions. So what, you came up with something?
Well, what happened was, I remember my dad used to say chlorophyll cleaned the blood. Before he passed away, he always said that. He was always helping people with their nutrition, not only the other way, through prescriptions.
Right.
So I went on a quest, and as sick as I went to a couple of nutrition stores saying, what is the strongest chlorophyll do you have for me? I need it live. And I
need it now.
And I need it now. And I could barely walk through the stores. Everybody thought I had cancer, but I didn't.
Right.
It was horrible. So the last store I found, and yes, I found something called E3 Live, and it's a fresh frozen blue-green algae, very, very high chlorophyll. And they did a testimonial on me and everything. Within 1 week, I was out of bed.
Really?
My mother needed a total thyroid operation that I needed to take care of her and my kids.
Oh, so
and I was
around.
able to do that.
Wow.
It was a miracle, basically. I always say that. And that's one of the words in my United Miracles Network. And my organization not only helps people with cancer, but with anything.
Right. Well, God obviously blessed you in that situation.
Oh,
He gave you,
yes.
restored your health.
I did a lot of praying, believe me.
And that's so important, obviously. And, we encourage people. We will actually do a show in the near future about prayer. And it's so important because even, when it comes to health issues, a lot of times people throw up their hands, and that's when they actually go to their knees and pray. They forget that prayer involves every aspect of your life. And that's one of the things we encourage our business owners to realize, that you need to pray about and around and over your business as well.
Yes.
Not just wait till your life is devastated. So you went through all these things, and you dealt with the health issues from both sides, not only personally but family, but also dealing with health clients, health companies, and dealing with people who are dealing with health companies. So you really got a strong sense and feel for what's going on in the healthcare industry.
Absolutely. I've seen it firsthand.
There you go. Well, that's the kind of experience that you just can't beat. And that's where we're going to lead into the United Miracles Network right after the break. I know we have a lot to talk about there, and I'm excited about that because it's something that helps people. And there's actually people listening right now that I'm sure are going to have a need, and the United Miracles Network can be a way to help them. By the way, if you're listening for the first time, you can check out tandemradio.com is our website, tandemradio.com. And at Tandem Radio, there's a lot of information. First off, we'll have a link there to JoAnn Corso and United Miracles Network. You'll be able to connect with them right through our website. But in addition to that, we have archive shows, so you can watch, because we video the shows. You can actually watch the shows or just listen. Any of the previous shows over the last few years and learn more about what we've done, and more importantly, pick out business advice. If you're a business owner, you're involved in business in general, you can actually pick a topic that maybe you're struggling with, kind of like a concordance in the Bible. If you're struggling with a word or struggling with something that's going on, you can go right to our archives and look up some of the past shows, pull them up, and you'll get the wisdom there that God afforded us for those shows, and the experts that come to the table with us and share in those instances. So, tandemradio.com, that is, tandemradio.com, info at tandemradio.com is the place for you to contact us as well. We'd love to hear from you. Send us your questions at info at tandemradio.com, and we'll be glad to get back to you with some business input and advice. We'll certainly pray for your business. You're listening to Tandem Radio, and this is Glen DeLake, your host. We're here every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we have a lot more for you coming up, so you're going to want to stay tuned. You're going to learn more about JoAnn and more about the United Miracles Network and more about how God wants to be involved in your business on a day-to-day basis. So stay tuned. A lot more coming up right after this break.
2, 1, cut. Hi, my name is Cooper Ford from Tandem Radio, the good news on business. I want to thank you for joining us for this episode. Hopefully you've been getting some fantastic insights from Glen and our featured guest. While we're taking this break, I want to introduce you to our website at tandemradio.com, where there's a wealth of information focusing on bringing Christian principles into the business world. First of all, we have some of our other archive shows that are on there, where you can see some of our past guests and listen to their shows. Second, we also have Ask Tandem, which is our shorter video segments focusing on specific questions related to faith and the workplace. And finally, we have our sponsors, like-minded businesses and professionals who not only share our mission, but also who want to serve you. So check it all out at tandemradio.com. If you want to get in touch with us, you can also email us at info@tandemradio.com. That's info@tandemradio.com. And we look forward to hearing from you. So thanks again for joining us, and let's get back to Glen and the show. God bless.
Well, welcome back to Tandem Radio. This is your host, Glen DeLake, and you're listening to the Good News on Business, heard every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I always have to get the Eastern Standard Time in there to remind me that we not only have a regional audience, but we have a national and international audience as well. We're heard on the 6 Bridge FM radio station, which go up and down the East Coast. But we also are heard on the internet and on the iPhone app and the Droid app, and people tune in. And so we get questions sometimes from even outside the country and certainly around the country. We always love hearing from you, so don't hesitate to drop us an email at info@tandemradio.com. That's info@tandemradio.com. We'd love to hear from you and interact with you and get topics on the show that really are relevant to you. So you, our listening audience. Going back to where we were, the good news on business, we're here with JoAnn Corso, who's the founder of United Miracles Network. I'm going to talk more to JoAnn in a second. But let's get these scriptures back on the air again. So important. Matthew 9:35-36. Jesus went through all the towns and villages, teaching in their synagogues, proclaiming the good news of the kingdom, and healing every disease and sickness. When he saw the crowds, he had compassion on them. Philippians 2:4. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interest, but each of you to the interest of others. And then 3 John 1:2, this is one of my favorite scriptures. Dear friend, I pray that you may enjoy good health and that all may go well with you, even as your soul is getting along well. Some translations say, even as your soul prospers. So we're talking today about affording health care. That's the theme for today, and how to bridge the gap there. And we're talking with JoAnn Corso, who's had a lot of experience in that area in general. Some real life experience right on the ground. You know, sometimes we get folks in here that have a lot of letters after their name, and they have a lot of good book smarts. But you know what? Sometimes it's the experiences on the ground that's really people who are actually doing it that make the difference. And I always say you can't beat a man or a woman with experience when it comes to a debate. So anyway, let's get to JoAnn because she's filled with information. JoAnn, again, good morning.
Good morning.
And, we're excited about the United Miracles Network. Before we get there, of course, we have a business audience, right? And that's who's listening. So let's talk a little about the nuts and bolts of how you transitioned, right? So just to remind our audience, you had this background, you had health issues in your family, your father passed away from cancer, you jumped into the family business, you ran the business, you dealt with healthcare companies, you dealt with people on the other end, and you were the go-between. Then you hit your own health challenges, came through that by God's good grace, and now you moved ahead and you said, you know what, it's time to help other people, right? So you started helping some other people. How did that go?
Yes, the past 3 years I've been helping the American Heart Association, another New Jersey cancer charity, and I woke up one morning and I said, that's it, I need to start my own charity. Because I saw so many people, including an uncle of mine that also passed away about 13 years ago of cancer, and he didn't have insurance, and they literally left him alone.
Wow.
They really didn't give him the chemotherapy he needed, nothing. So I woke up one morning, I said, that's it, we have to be united, and hence United Miracles Network.
There you go.
I want to help people, chronically ill patients, pay for their medical insurance. When you're sick, can you work? Can you work full time? No, you can't. Can you keep on paying for your monthly premiums? Very rare. So it's really a supplemental medical financial assistance. So what you're having trouble paying for, and it's the people who have fallen through the cracks, that the state, the government cannot really help them.
So, you know, obviously it's a plight that many people suffer. We live in a broken world. And, you know, we have to thank God every day for every breath that we can even get out of bed. There are people who would give anything to just be able to get a clean breath this morning or be able to stand up and get out of bed. But by God's good grace, healing comes to many. But obviously there's people who are in need. But let's talk about, before we get there and talk about actually who you're working with, let's talk a bit more about getting this nonprofit off the ground, right? A lot of people think about these. I talk to people, a lot of people come to me and say, hey, I want to start a nonprofit, and I know it's very involved. So let's talk about that. How long ago did you first get this idea for United Miracles Network?
Well, I've had this idea for a really long time, for at least a year, but I knew it was in my heart for a really long time. I founded it in January, this past January, and it's been amazing. I really had to set a plan for myself, for the organization, and see where it's all going to take me and the patients, really. And it's a lot of work. It really is. People just call you all the time, and the doctors actually have to call in, and they also can sign up their patients. We have to make sure that everybody is really within the guidelines to be able to receive the medical financial assistance.
Now you have a board, I assume, and
I do.
How did that come together?
Well, it's of some friends and some families. I have one cousin that's actually in California, and she's a cancer survivor.
Oh,
Yes, so she's on my board. My sister as well. She's the financial end.
Right.
She's a financial analyst. So she helps me with all the paperwork and everything like that. So, yeah, it's really great.
So it's a structure, and I know it's very involved to apply for the 501(c), right? Is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay. And I know that takes a lot of progress. So did you have to involve an accountant or a lawyer or anybody to do that work for you?
An accountant, yes. But it's simpler than other people think. It
Really?
really is. And I don't know if I can mention his name, but he's wonderful.
Sure, it's not a problem.
Wonderful man in South Jersey. His name is Paul Verna.
Okay.
And he helps a lot of nonprofits out.
He's a CPA.
And he's a CPA, yes.
So he did all the paperwork for you, put it all through, and got you going in that area.
Exactly.
All right,
I didn't have to do anything except sign a couple of things, and that was it. So.
Well, it seems easy to you. I'm sure he did a lot of work.
He did. No, I don't. God bless him. That's what he was there for me for.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the whole concept of United Miracles Network, tell us what the real mission is of that group now.
The real mission is to really help people keep their insurance. Because when they're diagnosed, this is the worst time to lose their insurance.
Okay.
If they don't pay a premium within, they could be maybe 1 month late, and they'll cut it off.
Right.
And then within a certain period of time, if they don't redo that or get it going again, they will lose it. So then they have a pre-existing condition when they restart it. And then they won't pay anything for their chemo, for doctor's visits, or anything that has to do with their illness.
Right. So someone gets ill, let's say the person who has health insurance, right? And they're going along with their health insurance, and all of a sudden their income might stop, right? Because
Yes.
they're sick.
Yeah.
And they may miss a payment or two, and all of a sudden,
It cuts off.
It cuts off.
I've spoken to patients, and that has happened to them.
okay. I don't think many people imagine that, when you're thinking about it. One of the last things you think about is if I get sick, who pays the premiums, right? So if the premiums are not being paid, and you get into this quagmire of pre-existing and all that type of
Yes.
thing, that takes some time, though, right? I mean, if you go, for example, if you lose your coverage,
Yes.
isn't there some type of grace period or anything? Or if you lose your coverage, you're done?
It all depends on who the company is,
Okay.
but typically it could be a grace period of 30 days.
All right.
And if you do not reinstate it within the 30 days, then you have to start the process all over again.
Wow. And if you are ill and you lose your coverage and you go to a new company, now they say pre-existing.
Yes, it's pre-existing.
And pre-existing just is not covered. Just they say you're on your own.
It's not covered.
So in that case, so let's talk first about the first type of patient you deal with, someone who's struggling and they can't get their health benefits paid for. United Miracles Network can step in and actually start making those payments for them?
Yes, we can help.
Okay. And that's one of the goals, is to help them continue
Yes,
their health care.
exactly.
What about in the case where a patient lost their health care? What do you do in that case? Can you help those people?
Well, we typically stick with the people who had the insurance and who's lost their job because they're very ill and who's lost their insurance.
Okay. So that's a prerequisite? In other
Yes.
words, that's part of the guidelines. What other guidelines do you have?
It's hard
for
to
your
help
patients?
everybody. That's
Of course,
the
I know.
thing.
Yeah, and I'm glad you pointed that out, because charities, I believe charities have to have a very specific mission, because if they don't have a specific mission and guidelines, you can't be all things to all people. And quite honestly, from a business perspective, which I tend to take things from, you don't want to have a charity that's gone tomorrow. So
Exactly.
what good is it if you exhaust all your abilities and resources, and then you're done? You want to have some longevity, like the American Cancer Society, American Heart Association, those types of things. So that's an important part of your charity, is balancing that act, right?
Absolutely. Say if people start off with no insurance, most of the time, depending on how much money they're making or are they shown for the past year,
Right.
the government will take over. But the people who have had that good job and also all of a sudden lost it, and now they're losing their insurance, they've fallen through the cracks, and it's harder to get the government to pay for insurance for them.
Right.
I know that sounds strange, but that's what I've seen.
Right.
It's crazy. So that's why I offer the supplemental medical financial assistance to
right.
help these people that have fallen through the cracks.
Say that again. You offer
medical supplemental financial assistance. I know that's long.
I won't ask you to say that 10 times fast, okay? But that's important. So supplemental. And again, I think there's a big gap here that we have to explore more in the next segment because there's just so much to cover there. And I think that this is going to be an eye-opener for a lot of people because you could be plugging along, doing all the right things, working and covering your bills, and sometimes it's funny, and our government, our current administration tends to penalize those people who do well. That's another topic. But it's amazing because sometimes you're doing all the right things and you're the one who gets burned, So it's amazing that there's so many people who fall into those cracks, and someone like you steps up and wants to help them. So we're going to talk more about that right after this next break. You're listening to Tandem Radio Live. This is Glen here every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Excited to have JoAnn Corso in the studio today, who's the founder of United Miracles Network. But our goal is the good news on business, and we do our best to point you in God's direction to help you realize that the Bible is just filled with wisdom that can help you with your business on a daily basis. And I know for many years I was one of those guys who went to church on Sunday, and Monday morning I flipped the switch and said, all is fair in love and war, and that's just not the case. And I'll tell you, it did not fare well for me in the first half of my career. But the second half, I've been doing it with God, and it's been getting better and better all the time as I continue to mature in Him. But it's by His good grace that all these things can come together. And we're here bringing you the good news on business every Saturday morning. Not only through the internet, not only through the 6 FM stations that we're on through the Bridge Network, but also through the internet. So we hope that you're tuned in, and wherever you're tuned in, that you realize that we're here for all of you, wherever you may be. We'll be right back after this break. Well, welcome back to Tandem Radio, and we're here today with the good news on business. Our show theme today is affording healthcare. And boy, what a topic to cover. We're not going to cover it all today. We can probably break the show into 3-4 parts. But we're here today with JoAnn Corso, who's the founder of the United Miracles Network, who is doing her best to bridge the gap and help people with exactly that, affording their health care. So as we were speaking before, JoAnn, there's this... we have this Medicaid, Medicare system, and I get them confused all the time. And that's basically for people who maybe don't have jobs or are below the poverty level, and the government can step in if they have illnesses or get catastrophic. That's why I don't understand this whole Obamacare mess, because there is health care for people who are in those positions, and that's a whole nother story. Our government just likes to play that shell game. But now we have the people who, and this happens with mortgages a lot, and I'm just using it as an analogy. You plug along and you're paying your mortgage and you're paying your taxes and you're doing all the right things, and then all of a sudden a blip happens. You lose your job or something catastrophic.
Right.
I mean, I had an incident one time where one day I had $500,000 in the bank and the next day I had zero, and it was not my fault at all. It was weird. So I understand what it's like to go from here to there and to run into those glitches. Thank God I've never had to go on public assistance, but the point is that for those people, there's not many alternatives. I mean, they, like in the case of a mortgage, banks don't want to hear it. They say, hey, you had an income, you were doing well all this time, you're tough, we're going to take your house. But if you didn't pay your mortgage for 2 years, you were stiff on unemployment for forever and taking care of, all of a sudden, there's all kinds of avenues, right?
Exactly.
So in the healthcare, I'm interesting to find this out, that in the healthcare area, the same thing that could happen to somebody who's, again, moving along, doing the best they can, they have a job, they're covering everything, all of a sudden catastrophic health issue pops up, right?
Yes.
So these are the type of people that your specific charity are focused on, right? So tell us a little bit more again about the criteria of, if somebody's listening right now and they're facing an illness, and there may be in that window. What is that window that you look at?
Well, when somebody gets sick, they lose their job, they're having a hard time paying their medical insurance. Usually they've used up their savings, they've exhausted all their resources.
Okay.
That's when we step in. If they have a huge savings, obviously that the people that don't have it need the help first.
Right.
So they have to exhaust all their resources, and most people actually try to get some help through the government, and they typically can't. It's until they go years and years without medical insurance, sometimes that they can get it.
Right. So then, so the average person out there is plugging along and they get hit. there is no real government help in that instance, correct?
I have not seen it yet.
Okay, all right.
Mhm.
So then they come to you. So now you've qualified them. You've confirmed that they have an illness, right, in some way?
Yes, the doctor needs to register them
Okay.
online or by calling me.
Okay.
And then we need to just confirm that the person was diagnosed with this. To what capacity are they truly out of work? And to what their financial situation is.
What about disability? You know, I just thought of that. You're thinking, when you talk about government assistance, if somebody's working and plugging along and all of a sudden they get sick, isn't there disability that they get?
Sometimes it's a little different. Disability may come about if you get physically hurt on the job.
Right.
It all depends on what type of insurance you have.
Okay.
Mhm.
So what if they are on disability when they come to you? Let's say they've exhausted all their resources, but they are getting some type of government assistance in the form of disability. That's somebody you can still help?
We can still help them, yes. Disability doesn't necessarily pay for your medical bills.
Right, right. I mean, it's kind of like unemployment. It's kind of like
Exactly,
a stipend kind of thing. So
exactly.
it may cover, but it's not going to cover your health care.
No, and it may not even cover your living expenses,
Right.
honestly, it may
Right.
not.
I hear you.
That's
I
what
hear
I've
you.
seen.
Right, of course. So now this person comes to you, they give you all this criteria that you, is there any other criteria we're missing? You get confirmation from the doctor,
Mhm.
you get confirmation from the financial situation. I guess
Right.
you look at they fill out a financial form
They
or
have to
something?
fill out a financial
Okay,
form.
so you look
Mhm.
at, you make sure that they are actually in need, they're not
Right.
trying to take advantage. Any other criteria?
Basically, no. We just, we make sure that's all set, and then it's all good.
All right, so when that person falls into your system, right, into your categories, and you now decide to help them, what type of help can they expect from you?
Well, they can expect us to help as much as we can, depending on the donations we have, that we can keep their insurance going.
Okay, so you may pay for part or
Yes,
all of their
part.
health insurance.
Most
Okay.
of the time, they really need to, most of the time they're getting something, whether it's Social Security or a little disability.
Right.
They need to put a certain portion in there.
Okay.
So it's supplemental, that's why it's
Right.
called supplemental. We
Okay.
don't fully take over, but we help them keep it.
Okay, so if there's a gap, that they have a couple $100 a month gap in covering their insurance, but it's specifically for health insurance.
Exactly, and the health insurance company is paid, not the family.
Okay, oh, that's interesting.
We make sure that the money goes to the company
Okay, that's
or
interesting.
goes to the doctor.
Now, do you have a relationship with the health insurance company, or your relationship strictly with the patient?
It's strictly with the patient.
Okay.
Mhm.
But you write a check out to
To
the health insurance
the health
company.
insurance,
Right,
yes.
okay.
That's why we have to contact them, and there's a privacy agreement and everything that needs to be signed.
Oh, okay, so you are contacting the health insurance company directly.
Eventually, yeah.
Okay, great.
Because we're paying them.
Right, right.
Mhm.
And how long do you typically see that these payments may go on? I mean, do you have a duration, or is it indefinite? I mean, how does that work?
Well, we just formed in January, like I said. So basically, I've seen that hopefully within a year
Mhm.
or so, they can actually get some government money in.
Okay, so this is kind of a stopgap measure to keep them from going into that pre-existing
Exactly.
no coverage issue.
Once you're labeled as pre-existing
Right.
with cancer or diabetes or cystic fibrosis or whatever it is, that's there.
Right.
That's stuck on you for life.
Let's talk about your experience with the health companies themselves. Okay, obviously, you can't speak for everybody and for every health company. We don't have to mention names.
I won't.
Today. Okay, but in your experience, what has been the response from the health companies? Have they been compassionate?
Yes, they have.
Okay,
They're very happy to see that there's an organization that's actually doing this.
all right, that's great.
Because nobody that I've heard of has seen a company that is doing this.
But they do have their strict guidelines. In other words, if you don't pay in 30 days, 60 days, whatever,
Yes.
you're done, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Now, what can people expect? They're plugging along. They can't afford their health insurance. In old days, people would say, "Don't pay any of your bills, just pay your mortgage." Now they're saying, "Don't even bother with the mortgage. The banks don't care anymore." I mean, I'm not professing that or saying. I'm just saying
know.
that I've heard that advice from people.
Right, exactly.
But obviously, paying your health care is critical. So do you tell people to prioritize in that respect?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I tell them, please keep your medical insurance.
So more so than your car payment, more so than if you had priorities.
It's true, because you can
Yeah.
work things out. They are more lenient.
Mhm.
Believe it or not, I have no idea why, but they're more lenient.
Yeah, I have a friend who passed away a long time ago, but I'll never forget, and I'm still involved with her family today, but I'll never forget, my wife and I were counseling her financially and helping her get back on her feet. And I remember sitting with her budget, and I said, the one thing you don't stop paying is your health insurance. I was very adamant with that. I said, we can call the bank and work with them on your mortgage. We can call the car guys and work with them. We can get rid of your car. We can do all kinds of things, but don't stop paying your health insurance. And without us knowing, she stopped paying her health insurance for about 3-4 months, figuring she'd get a job and get new health insurance. In the meantime, she got hit by a car. And it was catastrophic, and it was amazing what we went through. My wife and I dealt with that for 6 years because she was paraplegic, and it was an amazing experience, but it was just so difficult dealing with the financial aspects of it because she had the one piece of advice that I was adamant about she just didn't take. And unfortunately, a lot of people run into that situation. Do you see that often?
Yes, they absolutely do. And what I'd like to know is really why medical insurance companies are not as lenient as mortgage companies. This is something very, very serious. But they're not.
Right. So you actually get more out of a mortgage company.
You do. You absolutely do.
Yeah, I could tell you some stories. It's amazing. But it makes you wonder, doesn't it? You know, the priority. It kind of makes you wonder how people in life's priorities are kind of mixed up. You know, but we're in a broken world. You know, we're in a fallen world, and hopefully, anyway. So moving along here. So tell us more about United Miracles. Give us some examples of the type of families maybe you've helped recently. No names, of course, but give us some examples.
Okay, well, let me just say the American Cancer Society has actually referred some patients to us. They haven't been able to help them, which is wonderful, and I thank them for that. So I want to say that. There's some families. There was one woman, about 40 years old. She has MS, in severe pain all day long. She can hardly get to work or work at all. She's almost at the verge of not working. But she does have a savings account. She has money left to use. She has a house. She's able to pay some things. She's still able to work. And I said, you need to take care of those things first before we can help you. And she says, is it going to lose my chances if I have a savings account or if I start paying using my savings account? I said, no, it's not going to lose your chances. But you need to, exhaust your resources in order for us to come in and help you, because there's some other people that are in line that are kind of more desperate in a way because they don't have anything.
Right. I want to talk more about that. We're coming up on a break, but I want to talk more about your guidance in the financial area as well when we come back, because I think that's a big issue for the average person out there. And I want to get some input from you also after the break of if you think business owners might have to be treated differently in this scenario than someone who's working or employed by somebody else. JoAnn Corso is here today with us, who's the founder of United Miracles Network, and you're listening to Tandem Radio here every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, just want to remind you, we are the Good News on Business, doing our best to point you in God's direction, to realize that in His Holy Bible there is so much wisdom about business and, of course, life in general, that you can stay focused and on that alone, and it can help you in every aspect of your life. Again, not just your personal life, but your business life as well. So we're excited to be here to serve God in that way, and we hope that we can benefit you as well. Don't forget tandemradio.com. You want to check out tandemradio.com. It's just a powerful resource, good information, good guidance, and we'll even reach back to you if you reach out to us, no matter where you are, whether you're across the country or across the globe. We've got emails from outside the country as well, which is often fun to see those. But we will absolutely get back to you. info@tandemradio.com, info at tandemradio.com. By the way, I just want to mention our sponsors. Our sponsors are all good quality people that we kind of vet before we put them on the air, so we know who they are before we even have them sponsor us. So if you hear a sponsored name or comments or their segment or sponsorship, we encourage you. Reach out to them. They'll reach out back to you and they'll help you in many different ways. We'll be back right after these messages. Welcome back to Tandem Radio. This is your host, Glen, again here every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Bridge FM network. That's 6 FM radio stations. And also on the internet at tandemradio.com. And we're talking today about affording health care and the challenges that can occur with losing health care and not covering yourself or being covered at dire times. And we have in the studio today JoAnn Corso, who's the founder of United Miracles Network. Now, JoAnn, I just want to digress a little bit because we covered a lot of things, but we talked about your experience, and I know you have a lot of experience in the area of healthcare and because of your own personal issues.
Yes.
And we talked about how you had to struggle with these allergies, but we never finished the story about how you came about and found help with that.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about that for a minute, because I know you have your own business as well.
Yes.
In addition to running the charity. So it's not just the charity, which is a full-time thing in itself, I'm sure,
Mm-hmm.
but you also have a full-time business where you handle some health products. So tell us a little bit about what happened. You had this allergies, you were in bad shape, the medical profession was not really helping you,
No.
and all of a sudden you came up with something.
Yes, actually, I wound up finding a whole food juice called Xana juice. And it's a live probiotic juice that a doctor friend of mine has his own farm in Long Island. He actually makes his own soil, and it's all organic. He cuts his own vegetables and juices them.
How do you make your own soil? I thought God made the soil.
Well, he takes Himalayan salt crystals and also water from the ocean,
Okay.
which God made, right? And he puts it all together, and he grinds granite as well, and he makes his own soil, and he cultures these probiotics. So here I had antibiotics, which was killing all the good and bad bacteria in my body and really suppressing my immune system hugely. I found this because I was actually at an expo with the E3 Live, the green drink that first got me out of bed. I was about 90% or 85-90% better, but I knew that there was something left. And I was missing probiotics, but everything on the shelf that I was taking was not strong enough. It was all dead. This is live probiotics in a very potent, healthy, organic juice.
Wow.
It is probably the healthiest thing besides the E3 Live that you can drink in your life.
So when you look at the bottle, are things swimming around in there? It's all live.
Well, it does look, it settles to the bottom, so you shake it a little bit,
Right.
and it's pink, and
Okay.
it's made out of green cabbage, red cabbage, garlic, onions, parsley, jalapeno, and a whole bunch of really healthy vegetables.
Right, okay.
It is so amazing. You feel so much energy, but that rebuilt my digestive system.
Okay.
Because I was 90 pounds.
Wow. And you're a distributor of that product.
Yes, I'm a distributor, so any individual, any store, even any distributor, we are bringing this across the globe. Right now I'm having somebody work on it in Canada and Dubai and the Middle East, but all in the United States.
That's
Absolutely. It's my quest since I was sick to educate people on these two products and to get people to be healthy.
So there is help out there.
There is
and,
help out there.
There's help and there's health out there as well, so that's good to hear. And I want to talk more about, just to wrap up on the United Miracles Network, because you did pull this together. You're a mom with kids, you're working full-time doing this distributor thing, and then you still stepped out on faith, and United Miracles Network was something you created and you're continuing to build. How does your faith in Christ impact what you're doing on a day-to-day basis?
You know what? I pray all the time. That's why I am where I am. I have a huge faith in God, a huge faith in myself. Everything comes from within, right? And because I was so sick, you know what? Even before I was sick, I prayed all the time, of course. But I prayed for different things when I was sick.
Sometimes it brings us into perspective when we're having illness in our family or personally, right? And you start to realize how more important prayer is, and the things you pray for being critical, and I can't express that enough. In line with that, I just want to again do our scriptures one more time because we're wrapping it up actually. We're in the last segment. Matthew 9:35. Jesus went through all the towns and villages, teaching in their synagogues, proclaiming the good news of the kingdom, and healing every disease and sickness. When he saw the crowds, he had compassion on them. And JoAnn, I want to congratulate you for being Christ-like in that respect, having compassion on so many of these people. Philippians 2:4, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, rather in humility value others above yourselves, not looking for your own interest, but each of you to the interest of others. I want to encourage people out there, when you're looking outward, things look so much brighter for you. They really do. So take some time and look at other people's interests. And of course, I know this is a wish from God directly, and my wish to all of you who are listening. 3 John 1:2. Sometimes people get confused with that. That's the third letter of John 1 and 2. Verse 1 and 2. There's only one chapter in that letter. It's a short letter. Go read it right now. Not if you're driving. Dear friend, I pray that you may enjoy good health, and that all may go well with you, even as your soul is getting along well. So on that note, I think it's obvious how these scriptures have really fallen in place with what we're talking about tonight, today, affording health care. And JoAnn, I want to congratulate you on helping people to bridge the gap with their health care issues. Because I know people are concerned. Let's talk about that for a minute. In this day and age, just your opinion, are people more concerned about their health care or are they more concerned about their jobs?
Healthcare.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
You see that more often?
100% I do.
Because I know that's a big fear of people, but I also see many people concerned about jobs and employment. And I always wondered, and I'm just getting, this is just general opinions, I'm just getting general opinions from people to see what they think out there. And see, I would have said something different. I feel, in my experience that I'm seeing, is that people don't get so concerned about health care until they have an issue, right? But I'm sure that it weighs heavy on their mind. And I'm glad to see that you can be there to help them. Is there any, I know you said you pay healthcare companies directly. Are there any other expenses you can help these people with?
Yes, the doctor co-pays. Because sometimes they could be, for a doctor's visit, it could be $30, $50, but also there's co-pays for certain types of treatments.
Oh, okay.
And they could be thousands of dollars.
Do you find, just real quick, do you find a big disparity between one healthcare plan and another? I mean, do you see one company that really is stellar, and I won't name names, but do you see companies that are really stellar and some companies out there that are just like, I don't even understand why people have this company, you know?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And is it usually based on price, or can you get a bad company and pay them a lot of money too?
You can get a bad company and pay them a lot of money. I've seen that.
So just because you're paying a lot of money doesn't mean you're with the right company?
No, it doesn't mean anything.
Any thoughts on how people choose the right company, just real quick?
Any thoughts? You know what? You have to go with your gut. You really do. There's so many out there, and I cannot mention names.
Right.
But really, it's a process to just, you really need to look at everything.
Yeah. I think, and I want to give a little advice here myself, that you need to carefully look at your health care and who's providing it. One suggestion I have for you is call your doctors. Ask your doctors and see who they like. I happen to have a number of friends that are doctors. I've been blessed with that. So before I make any moves on health care, I call 2 or 3 of my friends and say, hey, who do you recommend? And they'll tell you number one, which companies they like working with, and number 2, which companies are more caring and have more interest in your health than they do in their dollar bottom line, you know. So it is so important when you're choosing health care to choose the right plan. And also check your options at work. Just because a company offers the health care doesn't mean you're necessarily locked into it. They may give you some options. So I want to give that recommendation out there. If you're in business or you're employed by someone, again, just because a company is locked into this one firm that does the health care doesn't necessarily mean you have to be locked into it. Check out the company if you're not happy with it. Where you're working may be flexible. Maybe. I don't know. You have to see your particular situation. JoAnn, I want to thank you very much for coming in today. It was very good to have you. Why don't you give our folks your email so if they want to reach out to you, they can reach you.
Yes, thank you. My email address is JoAnn Corso, that's JoAnnCorso @gmail.com. And also I'd like to mention one more thing if I can. There is insurance that you can get before you're even diagnosed with any type of cancer. There's supplemental insurance that you can get. So if anybody needs any advice on insurance or nutrition advice, please send me an email.
Yep, that's United Miracles Network. JoAnn Corso, thank you so much for coming in. You're listening to Tandem Radio. We're here every Saturday morning. We ran right up to the break, and we look forward to hearing from you. TandemRadio.com. Don't forget to check out TandemRadio.com. Filled with information. So much more for you out there. And we'll be talking more about this topic in the months ahead, so stay tuned here on the Bridge FM.